going on, everyone? This is David, and today I'm going to be talking about a comparison between Mutilate and Subtlety for rogues. According to this current patch, it's not really pertaining too much for the upcoming patch because there are going to be some changes to Subtlety and Mutilate specs in this upcoming patch, so it might make things a little bit different, it might make what I say completely obsolete. So for the next little bit, this is kind of how I do things. This is my point of view playing both specs, and what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, and what really works out and doesn't work out for those specs. Some basics about damage for rogues is that there's 3 different types of damage you can do. You can either do physical damage, poisons, or bleeds. And for the 2 different specs, for Subtlety and Mutilate, you're going to have different focuses on what your damage is. For Mutilate, for example, you will run more focus on your poisons and on your bleeds in order to put out some big damage. The issue there being that in order for your bleeds to have a major effect, you also need to have someone poisoned because of venomous wounds. It's one of the talents you can from your talent tree, which allows every time that your rupture or your garrote procs, as long as the person is poisoned, you have like a 60% chance, I think it is, in order to do a set amount of damage. And this also gives you an energy regen. So your bleeds and your poisons do a lot of damage. Your poisons in particular, you want to be running with the deadly poison, and this will be doing a lot of damage and give you the option of doing Venom, which is basically your only real burst ability. It's your big ability, if you will. It's kind of like Eviscerate in other rogue specs, but does more damage, in my opinion, does a lot more damage than Eviscerate would, as long as you have a 5 stack of deadly poison on them. Now with Subtlety, your main focus is going to be on physical, with a really minor emphasis on bleeds, because your physical damage is going to be coming from abilities such as Backstab or Eviscerate or Hemo, and these abilities will cause you to be doing that physical damage, but you want to have a bleed on them, because with a bleed in Subtlety, you'll be able to do 16% more damage as long as you spec that way in your Subtlety tree. And I don't know anyone who doesn't spec that way, because you always want to have as much damage put out as you can, since Subtlety is also focused mainly on a burst. But your bleeds really don't have much of an effect, because you'll usually be running with crippling poison in order to slow them, and either wound or mind-numbing poison in order to damage whatever you're attacking, in order to hurt it in a way that can't be done with just your damage. Now let's talk about a little bit about your strategies. In Mutilate, you want to be keeping your bleeds on, but you want to hold on to those cooldowns, because this will save you in the future, especially your vanish. In Subtlety, you have that option of having 2 vanishes really quickly, but in Mutilate, you're only going to be having that 1 vanish for a shorter period of time, or for a longer period of time, and it's going to take you, it can either save your life or really hurt you, or hurt your enemy, depending on how you use it. And you really want to make sure that you keep a focus on your poisons, making sure your deadly poison is up, and you can either run deadly poison with mind numbing, wound, or instant, because those last 3, the mind numbing, wound, and instant, will cause a crippling, because you'll spec that way for sure. Some people run double deadly poison in order to make sure they 5 stack it really quick, but that's not really my strategy. For an opener, you always want a garrote, because garrote and rupture activate venomous wounds as long as there's a poison on the target, and those will cause a lot more damage over time and be an important aspect to you, because it'll also give you energy regeneration from that as well. For your combo points, the first and second thing you want to do, you can do this in either order depending on what you're fighting in PvP, but you want to have a rupture up, because that will cause venomous wounds to proc, and a recoup up, because it's giving you, if you spec this way, it'll give you 6% less damage taken, but it'll also make sure that you stay alive, because your survivability is much less running with Mutilate. And I didn't like that aspect of it, because I didn't have that option of double vanishing or double whatever, smoke bombs and all that. So you have to be careful about your life as a Mutilate rogue. After that, it's kind of your preference. Some people like to run with a slice and dice, or they run with a venom. Kidney shot really isn't as it's really situational when you're in Mutilate. It's not as necessary as when you're in Subtlety, because you want to use it more to stop a cast or slow someone down and catch up to them, that sort of thing. And with Envenom, you really want to make sure you have a 5 stack of your Deadly Poison up in order to get your maximum damage output from that, and your Cold Blood too should be used with that. That's the only time I really use my Cold Blood, is when I'm about to Envenom on a 5 stack, and I also throw my Trinket there at the same time, activate it, whatever you call it. And it's also used as a way to keep up Slice and Dice if you decide to go that route, which I find really useful just because that white damage hits pretty hard when you're in Mutilate spec, but it's really your preference on that. My preference is to have my Slice and Dice up and have it so that my Envenom resets it every time. Now with Subtlety, your main attacks are going to be with your Backstab or your Hemo. I run it with Backstab. A lot of people run Hemo. A lot of the greatest rogues in the world will run Hemo. I just have a lot more fun seeing the massive damage from Backstab, but it's very positional, and that causes issues because I'm a keybind turner, which is bad. Don't ever keybind, especially if you just started playing this game. Start turning with your mouse, start using your mouse a lot more. But my issue there is that I'm too lazy. That's why I played for the longest time, and I never really want to try to learn. Every time I try to learn, I quit really fast because it bothers me. I don't like it. My fingers aren't used to that. But anyways, I run with a Crippling and a Mind Numbing for my poisons. The Crippling to keep people slowed down, and the Mind Numbing in order to slow casters down a little bit. But you can run Wound or whatever you want really for that. Do not use Deadly Poison. It's not going to do that much. I mean, it'll do damage for you, but it's going to mess you up if you ever try to gouge somebody, or try to, I guess it won't mess you up with Blind if you glyph it right, but it's just not as useful unless you really aren't planning on helping the whole team out as a whole. Then go ahead and run Deadly Poison. It's your choice, really. It's your preference. That's my preference. Save your Shadow Step when you're in Subtlety for if something gets away from you, like a mage, if it blinks, or a hunter does whatever that jump back move is. If any of you guys can tell me what that is, that'd be great. I still don't know what that is, and I'm too lazy to go look it up. As an opener, you have an option between doing a Garrote or an Ambush or Cheap Shot. It's really your choice. And Garrote is usually the option that you're going to be taking, because you want to have that bleed on them in order to get the extra damage buff out of that. But honestly, it's your choice, like I was saying before. Your combo point priority usually goes to Recoup first. After that, you could do either a Rupture or Kidney Shot, or then start running into your Eviscerates. The Rupture mainly just keep your bleeds up, but you can do that with Hemo too. So Kidney Shot just to stop them, and maybe even get a chance to throw in a Shadow Dance there. Shadow Dance is a super useful move. It's your biggest burst move that you'll be using. When you throw a Shadow Dance, sometimes you want to stun first or throw a Smoke Bomb so that you don't get interrupted in the middle of throwing a Shadow Dance. But you throw a Shadow Dance and you just ambush the hell out of that person. And you throw some Eviscerates in there. Usually what I'll do is I'll do a double ambush. That'll get me 4 points, and since I'm spec this way, usually I'll have a 5th one coming in already, and I'll throw an Eviscerate, and then I'll ambush again, ambush until the end, and then throw an Eviscerate. And it's just a load of damage. Usually I can throw out anywhere between 80,000 to 120,000 damage during that time. Sometimes more, just depending on their spec and their resilience and such. So which is more viable for PvP is a question that I like to ask myself a lot, just because I have fun playing both in PvP. But to be honest with you, for arenas, I would say Subtlety is probably honestly the best, unless you're running with a really good healer. But Subtlety is the best for arenas. Mutilate is more fun for like BGs, but it's really your choice on that. I find Subtlety is more of a burst and survivability spec, where Mutilate is much more sustained damage, and you're going to get more damage over a longer period of time than you would with Subtlety, because Subtlety relies on short bursts, while Mutilate relies more on keeping your bleeds up and just letting that damage roll. And Subtlety definitely wins in mobility as far as moving around and catching up to people, but Mutilate doesn't deal as much with positioning for me, because since I'm a backstab subtlety rogue, Mutilate, I rely a lot on position for my subtlety spec, but Mutilate, you don't have to worry about that at all. I run Mutilate as my main attack, really, to get combo points generated. And some people would disagree with that, but I never backstab and Mutilate just because I don't feel like it's a complete waste, but that's one of the reasons why I go Mutilate, so I don't have to worry about that positioning. But all in all, for PvP, I've found that I enjoy my subtlety spec a lot more just because I can stay alive longer, and everyone likes to stay alive. No one likes to die in this game. And, I mean, that's just shown because everyone blames healers for not keeping them alive. But, and it's really just the proven playstyle for PvP in this patch. And I feel like Mutilate's a lot more fun if I weren't to die so much. If I had a healer on me the whole time, like a little pocket healer, watching my butt all the time, then I would probably play Mutilate more. But as far as survivability and being able to handle things more on my own, I would say going Subtlety is the way to go. This has been David with Daovud's WoW Experience. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Leave your comments, like, subscribe, and I will do the same to you. Thank you very much.